Okay, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment and Planning Committee. That is for Monday, the 14th of February 2022. I'll declare the meeting open at 7:01, or actually 7:02 p.m, if that's okay. And moving through to the next item, the acknowledgement of country, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and that is the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Item 3 is the notice of live streaming of the committee meeting. Staff and the public are reminded that this meeting is open and the meeting is being broadcast live to the public on Council's website in accordance with Section 4 of Council's Code of Meeting Practice. The Code of Meeting Practice, only if the meeting moves into a closed or confidential session in accordance with Section 13 of the Code of Meeting Practice, will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. And item 5 is apologies. Do we have any apologies for tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have Councillor Tegg.
Thank you, Ms Bishop. Would somebody like to move that, please? That we accept Councillor Tegg's apology.
I'm happy to move that.
Councillor Borg, and a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Sorry, who was that? Was that Councillor Marnie?
Marnie, yep.
Thank you. Okay, we might just ask Ms Thornton, are you on with us tonight, or is it somebody else who is counting or managing the votes? I'm happy to go around. I don't mind.
It's Anne-Marie, Madam Chair. I'm happy to take the votes. That's okay.
Thank you. I'm happy for you to do that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks. I'll start with the Mayor Catrus vote. Mayor Catrus. Okay, I'll come back to him. Madam Chair. For the motion. Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Marnie.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Wang.
For.
Thank you. I'll just go back to the Mayor. Mayor Catrus, are you there? Doesn't seem to be there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks, Anne-Marie. We might just move on then. Okay, well, that's everybody's supported that, so that one's carried. We'll move to the next item, which is disclosures of interest. Do any of the councillors have any interest to declare tonight?
Not for me.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. Thank you. Moving to the next item then, the public participation on the agenda. I believe there is one speaker registered for tonight's meeting, and I would remind our speaker that you have 3 minutes for the time limit. The first sound you hear indicates that you have 1 minute remaining, and at the second sound, if you could please conclude your comments. And tonight's speaker is former councillor Leisha Payer, and Ms Payer is speaking on item ENV 003-22, the Register of Heritage Conservation Management Plans. Ms Payer, are you on the line?
I'm just dialing her in, won't be a minute.
Okay, thank you. How are we going, Anne-Marie?
Hello.
Hello, is that you, Leisha Payer? Hello?
Hello.
Leisha, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Hello, it's Catherine here. I believe you're speaking to us tonight. It's from the Environment and Planning Committee. I believe you're speaking to us tonight on the ENV 003-22 item, which is the Register of Heritage Conservation Management Plans.
Yes, I am.
If you're ready, could you please go ahead? You have 3 minutes, as you know. Thank you.
Is Anne-Marie or Alex, we've got some problem here with her connection.
We've got some technical difficulties. Sorry, Miss Bishop. I'm just trying again. Miss Payer's connected now, Madam Chair.
Leisha, it's Meryl Bishop here. You're ready to present to the committee?
Yes, I am.
Yes, the committee is awaiting your presentation. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I would like to thank council officers for providing this report. This was requested in the notice of motion I put forth as the councillor at the end of the last term of Georgia Civil Council. As Heritage New South Wales is lessening their involvement with conservation management plans, it's time for councils to increase their use to determine impacts and manage change to our environment. They provide the framework for an agreed conservation and management approach to a heritage item, particularly in the development making process. They can be made for local heritage items as well as state. Heritage New South Wales still recommends the preparation of CMPs as best practice heritage management documents, and yet as a search of their publicly accessible state database shows, this LGA has given almost no attention to them. Of our LGA's many important historic buildings and heritage areas of significance to the region, only Cars Cottage has a CMP, and that was produced almost 30 years ago. The rest have been ignored, and as this report has revealed, only further 3 sites in the LGA are within Council's own register. The preparation of CMPs for key community facilities at least should, I believe, be progressed as a matter of priority upon commissioned heritage advice. It has been proven insufficient to relegate this to part of the development application process where the applicants provide the advice. For example, with the current interim heritage order for Glenlee at Nagano, Heritage New South Wales has provided the recommendation to commission a conservation management plan. This is based only on their initial assessment of it being at least a local heritage item. This and further work may be used in their future assessment of Glenlee for the State Heritage Register. I trust that this CMP will be included on Council's records, publicly accessible records. Again, I thank council officers for assisting with this first step in raising community awareness and encouraging participation with our heritage management, especially because it's largely the result of community efforts that research significance and the need for preservation is brought to light. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think your microphone is muted.
I'm so sorry. I muted myself whilst we were listening to Ms. Payer, so I didn't make any noise through it. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. Thank you, Leisha, for your contribution. We'll move to the next item on the agenda. I'm a bit rusty, everybody, so a bit of patience, please. Item 8, which is confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, which is from the Environment and Planning meeting held on the 8th of November 2021. Now, I know some councillors may have concern about moving a set of minutes that they weren't at the meeting for. My understanding is from the legislation that if you've actually read the minutes, then you can actually move them. If it provides you any sort of comfort, I was actually at that meeting and I'm happy to move it if I can move that from the chair. So I'll move that if that's okay. Would somebody be happy to second it?
I can second that. I was there at the meeting anyway.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, you're with us. Great. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no, that's fine. I think you've just joined us. That's great. Okay, well, thank you. I'll move it and the Mayor will second it. And perhaps Anne-Marie, if you could go around and check with the other councillors, please.
I'm sorry, I think we're all a bit rusty with this. Let me start with the Mayor's vote. Mayor Catrus?
For
For the motion, sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry. Madam Chair, you're for as well. You've moved the item. That's right. Thank you. Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jamieson.
For the motion.
For the motion. Thank you. Councillor Marnie.
For, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor takes an apology. And Councillor Wang.
For, thank you.
For the motion. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, everyone. So that one is carried. Moving to the next item on the agenda, which is our committee reports. And the first item to discuss is ENV 002-22, which is the Development and Building Department Functions and Services Metrics Report for Q2 for 2021 to 22. Now, I think the correct way of doing this under the Code of Meeting Practices to call for a mover and a seconder. I also like to provide a little bit of latitude within the confines of what I can and ask for just a bit of an overview from either director or one of the council officers who has written the report. So I might actually call for a mover first, if that's okay. Mover and a seconder. Would anyone be willing to move?
I'm happy to move it, Councillor Lansbury.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would someone like to second it?
Yeah, I'd like to second that.
Thank you. That's Councillor Wang is seconding it. Okay, before we actually put it to a vote, clearly we need to discuss it a bit. So I might actually throw over to you, Ms Bishop, and just see if you could just give, because it's the first meeting of the new council and all of the councillors on this particular, apart from the mayor, of course, and myself, they're all new to this particular directorate. So if you could just give them a brief overview, please, of what this report is the function of the report. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. Committee members, we provide you 4 times a year an overview of the, I guess, the services and the metrics, especially of the development and building team. So that is department, that's the department that does development applications and certification. And of course, as you are aware, do not have a role in determining development applications anymore. This gives you a bit of an understanding of what's happening in the community regarding applications. So just for the month of October, so the second quarter, 156 applications were lodged, 186 applications were determined. That's development applications. That's about on par with what we usually process each quarter. In relation to the applications that go to the planning panel, there were 23 applications. 20 of those applications adopted the officer's recommendations. 2 were deferred for further information and 1 was refused. Our processing times, our target processing times for applications is around 85 days. We are a little behind that at the moment of just over 100 in the last quarter, really due to some technical and complication issues that are caused with the planning portal, which is the lodgement requirement through the state government Department of Planning's website. We run a pre-lodgement service, which we have been doing for well over 2.5 years now, which is a service we provide to the community. We do somewhere between 60 and 20 pre-lodgement services a month. We also report as part of this process the variations to the LEP. It's called a clause 4.6 under the LEP. It's a requirement that we report that to you. In the quarter, there are only 9 variations that occurred, which isn't bad when we're looking at 156 applications being, 180 applications being determined. Some applications then in relation to our certification area, that of course, because we're in competition with the private sector, we don't, our market share is significantly lower, which is understandable. That's no different from other councils. And you know, with the CDCs, CCs and building information certificates that we do as well. We've got some work to do in the space of building information certificates in relation to catching up with some of the old applications we have in place. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thanks, Ms Bishop. Does any of the committee members have any questions for Ms Bishop on this particular item?
Yes, I do. So Director, what sort of impact does the COVID restriction have on the, the service?
thank you through Madam Chair to Councillor Wang. In relation to the lodgement of development application, that has not slowed with COVID. We have found over the last couple of years that the applications that have been submitted have been a fairly steady lodgement rates. So that's one area that has not been affected.
But
In relation, yeah.
sorry, go ahead. The process.
No, that's fine. As I say, it's more us making sure that we're on top of the assessment process with resourcing.
Councillor Lansbury, can I ask a question?
Certainly, is that Councillor Jamieson?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I noticed it's not on there, but do we have a way of measuring any complaints about DAs, and if they're non-complying once they're built, or CDCs? Do we have any sort of, or do we just do the DAs approve it, but if they've got private certifiers, we just leave it to them, or how does that work with complaints? You know, I've heard a lot of complaints about local DAs and stuff.
Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Jamieson, while that is a crucial question to be asked, I think it's probably more appropriate that I speak to you. I'll give you a call and I'll speak to you offline. It's a reasonably complicated process and a reasonably complicated answer that probably falls outside the statistics in relation to the metrics of this report. So I'm happy to talk with you offline, and I'll give you to speak with you through that process.
Thanks, Ms. Ish. Did I see Councillor Marnie? Did I see you with your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Look, just a question through you to the Director, Ms. Bishop. Just with all the, I guess, media reports about private certifiers, I just think it's a bit of a shame that councils in general don't have more of the market in certification, because so many private certifiers let us down, or let the community down and homeowners down. I'm just wondering if what share of the market does our council have, and is there any way to maybe grow that market share and get income in, and maybe give a superior service to what the private, well, I'm not begging all the private certifiers, but give more work to council and maybe less to some of these dodgy operators.
Thank you. Through Madam Chair to Councillor Marnie, if you look on paragraph 36 of the report, which is page 25, it does there outline what our percentage is. So it can be anywhere, this is in relation to CDCs, it can be anywhere from 1% up to 9%, depending on the month and depending on the applications that are lodged with council, and in relation to what comes through the private certifiers. In relation to the question of marketing, it's a bit similar to my response to Councillor Jamieson. It does fall outside what we've reported in this report, but I am happy to talk with you in the next day or so, Councillor Marnie, about our approach to marketing the service.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any further questions of Ms. Bishop on this item? I just would like to say that I think to the new members of the committee, this is actually a really good report to come to the first committee meeting, I think, because it does provide you with a really good and comprehensive overview of the sort of work that goes on in the planning department, because it is a lot of moving parts. We've got obviously the local planning panel and Sydney South planning panel involved to a degree, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on in-house, and there's a lot of applications are lodged, a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy that has been added layer by layer from the state government, unfortunately, and it is a good snapshot, I think, to introduce you to some of the work that this committee does. So having said that, we might move. Councillor Borg has moved it, Councillor Wang has seconded it. We might go through Anne-Marie and get everybody else's vote on this if we could, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start with the Mayor Catras vote.
Agree. Four.
Sorry, what? For the motion? Thank you.
Four.
Madam Chair, can I have your vote, please?
Sure. 4.
For the motion, Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
For the motion, Councillor Jamieson.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Marnie.
For.
For the motion, thank you. And Councillor Wang.
For the motion, thank you.
Thank you very much. Six votes for, thank you.
Great, thanks, Anne-Marie. Moving to the next item, which is ENV 003-22, the Register of Heritage Conservation Management Plans. Would somebody be able to please move this?
Yes, I'll move it.
Thank you. That's Councillor Marnie, I think, and a seconder.
I'll second it, Madam Chair.
Okay, that was the Mayor, I think. Councillor Catras. As we can see, the recommendation is that Council note the establishment of the Register of Heritage Conservation Management Plans and note that the website will be updated to include a reference to the register on the Heritage Conservation, not Conversation, Conservation page. Does anybody have any questions of Ms Bishop on this particular item?
I have one. So,
Go ahead.
Just with Alicia Payer and her comments, how was that? What was she asking? I'm trying to understand. Is it in line with this, or I just want to understand? Sorry, I'm a bit new to it.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Jamieson, and I might also ask Ms McMahon, the Manager of Strategic Planning, to step in as well here. What is before you in the report before you is in relation to the setting up of a register on our website that identifies the conservation management plans that have been prepared for sites within the city. Now, how it currently works at the minute, and I'll ask Ms McMahon to step in and elaborate on this, is a conservation management plan is, when it relates to a private site, is not developed by council, it's developed by the applicant or the developer of the site, because it clearly outlines how a heritage site can be developed to protect the integrity of the heritage item. Now, I'm going to stop there because I have two people who have heritage experience that can provide advice to you. One is Catherine McMahon, so I might start with her, and if she is struggling, Michael Edwards may step in. So, Cathy, would you like to just elaborate a little bit more on what Ms Payer indicated in her submission to the committee?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. The report is consistent with the council resolution. We are setting up a register of heritage conservation management plans. But just to elaborate, all applications that relate to heritage buildings that are listed in the council's local environmental plan have to be accompanied by a heritage impact statement. Now, all those applications and the heritage impact statement are reviewed by Council's Heritage Advisor, Michael Edwards, who's here tonight for the next report. And if Mr. Edwards recommends that further detail is required, such as the conservation management plan, that goes on as a condition of consent or requested prior to issue of the consent. So it's not normal practice to ask for a conservation management plan. It is normal practice to ask for a heritage impact statement. And from that, you work out whether or not you need a conservation management plan. A conservation management plan deals with the fabric, what fabric should be retained and what can go. So it actually gets right down into the building detail. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Ms McMahon. Councillor Jamieson, does that answer your question?
I think it's the background, but so what did Alicia, was Alicia just in agreement with that, or was she asking for something different?
Sorry.
No, Kathy, you answer.
No.
Sorry, but the resolution. Sorry, Madam Chair, to Councillor Jamieson. Yes, the resolution is consistent with the position that Leisha was putting forward to you. She added a few other additional items there, but basically the resolution is consistent with the comments that she made. Yes.
Yep, and I agree with that, Madam Chair. The report is consistent with the previous resolution of the council.
So just as a point of clarification, Ms McMahon, nobody's actually compelled to provide a conservation management plan unless they're actually planning on doing some work to their particular property. Is that correct?
The first step is a heritage impact statement, and only once that's assessed and you look at the extent of works to the heritage item and what's proposed, would you ask for a conservation management plan. To date, we haven't had to, and that's why there is only 3 listed in the report, plus Carr's Cottage. I'll add that to the list on the website.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions on this item? Okay, I might take that as a no. And if that's the case, we've had Councillor Marnie has moved it and the Mayor has seconded it. So perhaps Anne-Marie, you could do the rounds and collect everybody's votes for that.
Mayor Capris, just confirming you're for the motion.
For, yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, can I have your vote, please, for the motion? Thank you. Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Marnie, you've moved the motion. You're for the motion.
Thank you. For, yep.
Thank you. And Councillor Wang.
For the motion, thank you.
Thank you very much. 6 votes for.
Great, thanks Anne-Marie. So we can declare that one carried and we can now move on to the next item, which is ENV 004-22, which is the Heritage Building Grants Program 2021-22. Just before we sort of perhaps defer to Michael Edwards, I might ask for somebody to move and second that, please, so we can discuss it.
I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. And is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Okay, Ms Bishop, would you like to talk about this or should we ask Mr Edwards to just give us a bit of a brief overview?
Look, I will commence just to give you an overview of what the grant program is, and I guess I've got Mr Edwards here if there are any questions, specific questions in relation to the funding that we've allocated and the properties that we've allocated to. I wasn't going to ask Mr Edwards to go through every application, but it was only if the committee had questions for this. So just as a quick background for the committee, we have been operating a grants program for a number of years. There's a set amount of money that's set aside within the budget. This year we had some funds within our Heritage Buildings Fund Reserve, which is it's been accumulating funds over the last couple of years. We got 24 applications this year, applications for works to heritage items. 18 of those applications have been considered suitable for approval. The summary of those works are outlined in paragraph 28 of the report, which is on page 35. Some of the funds that have, and the works relate, as you'll see in that table, the works relate everything from restoring and painting to replacing and amending roofs to front fences. The report also indicates the methodology of which the heritage consultant and the staff go through in relation to allocating the funds. So what is also useful that this year is we got some funding from the state government in relation to our small grants program, so that $6,000 has been allocated to fund the works of these 18 projects, with the remainder of the money being sourced from the reserve. I guess through you, Madam Chair, if there are any questions for Ms McMahon and or Mr Edwards.
Thanks, Ms Bishop. Councillors, are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Madam Chair. It's just, are these applicants a combination of like private homeowners or it could be a council property as well? Like, is that a combination of different types of properties? And then the second question is, how do these people get notified about these grants to apply for them?
Ms McMahon, would you like to answer that?
Yep, through you, Madam Chair. We send, with the second question, we send out letters to all heritage listed owners in June, July last year. They're given time. We give them information that the grant program is opened, how to complete a grant application form, and the information is also on our website. But we do send out hard copy letters out to every person that owns property, and they have to provide the quotes and then it comes in. So that's how we do advise our heritage owners. With the first question, there are no council properties on this list. This is for privately owned properties. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Kathy. Are there any other questions? Okay, I might take that as a no. We might call for the votes on this one then. So we've had, the item has been moved by Councillor Borg and seconded by Councillor Wang. So Anne-Marie, if you're there, would you mind going around and collecting everybody's votes, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start with the Mayor's vote. Mayor Katris?
For the
motion. Thank you. Madam Chair, your vote, please.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, you've moved it.
For the motion, yep.
Wonderful, thank you. Councillor Jamieson?
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Mahoney?
For, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Wang, you're seconder. You're for the motion?
Yes, for the motion.
Thank you. For the motion. Thank you very much. That's 6 votes for. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thanks Anne-Marie. So we can declare that one carried. Moving on to the next item, which is ENB 005-22, Management of the Common Indian Minor Bird Population in Georges River. I might call for a mover and a seconder firstly, please, so we can discuss it. Would somebody be happy to move this, please?
Madam Chair, I did want to move it, but I've just got some minor amendments to it. And basically, it's repeating what's in the report. I'm sure that it's clear that what we want the council officers to do. So if you just bear with me, all I want to actually indicate is that in the recommendation it says that council endorse the implementation of a common minor as it stands there, including blah blah blah. And at the end of that, after website, and council is to participate. In discussions on a regional approach to minor bird education, management, through SS rocks, test, and animal action group, as indicated in paragraphs 35 through to paragraphs 35 through to 39. I'm happy to talk quickly after a seconder.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Money. Basically, all it does is repeat what's in the report, so that there's no doubt. It repeats the recommendations on page 43 of the report, paragraph 35, 36, 37, it goes on to 39, regarding the education program, And I just wanted to make sure that it's clear as to what we want the council officers to do. It's their recommendation, it's their report, and I'm just putting it into the resolution, into the recommendation. That's it. They are a pest. They're a huge pest, as I've been told by various residents. And they're apparently the second worst bird pest throughout the world.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Is that, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, only the fact that it is a pest, and unfortunately people seem to confuse it with the with another minor bird, which is actually one of our Australian homegrown minor birds. But the problem with this minor bird is that it actually attacks the nests of other birds and kills the young of those other birds, and it's mainly an urban dweller in what you might call semi-public parks or semi-natural parks. So it really needs to be eradicated, and it does carry a lot of diseases. It's not that, you know, we just want to get rid of the birds. We just want to get rid of this bird, which has been recognised, and you'll find in the report, I think it's been recognised as the second largest population of pests, of birds, pesty birds throughout the world. So, and they've Sutherland Council's done something about it. I think County Bankstown used to do something about it. Now we're not actually going to be spending that much money over doing what's been recommended by the council officers. It's basically an education process. It's an information process that they're going to implement. So I commend the recommendation for the councillors.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Does anybody have any other questions on this one? Mr. Spooner, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this as you were the author of the report? Did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Councillor or the Mayor, Nick Catras, has done a wonderful job articulating the issues in relation to the Indian or common minor bird. But I think the recommendation is sound from the point of view that we did do the research that was requested by the NOM that Councillor Catras put up, and we did look at the impacts, and we looked at the need for education and management. We looked at the other programs that other councils had run, and we looked at the costs. And at the end of that, we decided that based on community interest, there really isn't a great deal of community interest. I think we had 9 inquiries since 2017 in relation to this pest species. A trapping program is not effective unless it's done on a regional level, because obviously bird populations can migrate. And the resourcing and from a staff time and money is quite significant when it comes to a trapping program, whether it's a hiring out of traps or whether it's people getting traps made. It does take, and having previously been involved with programs doing both of those, it is a significant burden. So I think this is a reasonable, cost-effective approach to look at education to try and, reduce the local population from that regard. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thanks, Mr. Spooner.
Could I just add one more thing, Madam Chair, just a quick one?
Certainly.
I just want to congratulate and thank Mr. Spooner and his staff for such a very detailed and excellent report. I learned a lot from it, believe it or not, Mr. Spooner. I'm sure that a lot of other councils will learn a lot from it. I'm not into killing birds. I think that's got to do with feral cats. But anyway, in this case, the feral cats will do us some justice if we've got these minor birds. So, and I don't mean let loose a whole lot of feral cats, but can I just say this? It really is an excellent and detailed report. Thank you for that, Mr. Spooner, and thank your staff for it.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Unless anybody else has further questions, we might ask Anne-Marie to, any more questions? We might ask Anne-Marie to go around and get everybody's vote for this one, please. Anne-Marie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start with with Mayor Catras. You've moved.
I'm for
the motion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your vote, please.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson,
For the motion.
thank you. Councillor Marnie,
For the motion.
thank you very much. And Councillor Wang,
For the motion, thank you.
thank you very much. That's 6 votes for. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, thanks, Anne-Marie. So we can declare that one carried. Moving on to our final item for tonight is ENV 006-22, the Georges River Environmental Resilience Action Plan 2022 to 2040. I'm sure there probably will be some questions on this, so I might ask for a mover and a seconder so we can discuss it. Would anyone be willing to move it?
But, Madam Chair.
Sorry, who was that?
Nick.
Oh, sorry, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Moved by the Mayor. Is there a seconder for this?
I'll second it.
Sorry, who was that?
I'll second it. Councillor Jamieson.
Councillor Jamieson. Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. Okay, now, does anybody have any questions for the Director on this, or perhaps one of the other council officers?
Through the chair, I do have a sort of question. It's actually a very good, it appears to be a very, very good action plan, and it covers all the actions we could possibly do in the future. My only area that I seem to think that a lot of organisations, institutions, councils seem to miss out on, and that is what's termed embodied energy. And for instance, embodied energy in existing buildings and concrete structures. For instance, if you've got an existing concrete structure, there was a lot of energy that's taken up to build that structure, and a lot of energy has gone in and it's embodied in that structure. When we demolish existing buildings with substantial structures, we actually lose the embodied energy and we use up energy to build a new structure. So I'm just wondering, at what point are organisations, and for instance, the electric car, there's a lot of embodied energy required to produce the batteries. Now, it's great to say that we're saving energy, but what's going to happen to those batteries which have a lot of embodied energy in the production of those batteries? They're not addressing the issue with regards to the recycling of those batteries. The recycling of produced materials, with the exception of something like paper and plastics, to me, it seems to be something that's been set aside from all studies, all reports, and all action plans. What are we going to do with materials, structures, etc., that are produced, and they do use up a lot of embodied energy? It's sort of a question and a comment put together. Maybe I can ask the manager or the person that's put together the report. What's going to happen? What's going to happen, Andrew? Oh, sorry, Mr. Spooner.
Madam Chair, would you like me to respond to
Sure.
that?
Please go ahead.
Interesting question by Councillor Catras, and look, I would have to take this on notice because this is a concept that obviously as an architect you're well into embodied energy and how buildings are constructed and deconstructed. But look, I think that the current plan we're looking at is in relation to council's operations, and look, yes, we do some new builds and rebuilds and demolitions, and that concept hasn't been considered, and that's something we can look at. But I think it's probably more apt to the broader community because there's a lot more rebuilding and building being carried out in the community. So it's more likely something we can look at outside of this particular document, because this document relates specifically to what we do. Look, the simple answer is the old mantra of reduce, reuse and recycle, I guess, is the typical thing. And what do we do with those batteries? Well, there are markets for those batteries and we can recycle those, and that's part of that process. But I think for the small amount of demolition that the council would do, it is probably something that's going to come from our broader community approach to getting to that 2050 target that the state and federal governments have put in place, and as we've adopted as part of the city's race to climate change for 2025. But in relation to our operations, it's probably not a major component, if that answers your question, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Spooner, yes, it does answer my question, but the more I must say, and it really, I can see what you're saying with regards to our practices and the amount of demolition, etc., and the amount of recycling that we need to do. I'm sort of putting it out there more than anything, more, not so much for us, but more for the whole community to start thinking of that. You know, even solar panels require energy. They have to make them some way. So it's really got to, there's got to be a debit and a credit in the manufacture of all items. The debit is what did it cost to make those, what was the energy component to make those panels, and what are the benefits. It's almost a cost-benefit analysis, which really has to take hold at some stage in the lifespan of our ideas on using nature as a source of energy. So anyway, let's hope that at some stage we do address this issue. Not so much us, because I understand we don't do that much demolition, and we don't, and the recycling we do quite well. But okay, thank you very much, Mr. Spooner.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Spooner, I do have a question for you. Just as a bit of a clarification, there are a number of strategies, and just looking at paragraph 7, the action plan combines existing objectives, actions, programs that address environmental resilience that have previously been endorsed or supported by council. My reading of this particular report and the document is that this particular action plan is something that kind of pulls it all together. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's a compilation document of all of those previous key recommendations or resolutions from the council, and some of those relate to increasing our tree canopy coverage by 40% by 2038, which is in the life of this span till 2040, as it is 100% renewable energy target by 2025, and also our net zero carbon emissions by 2025. All of those things are incorporated into it, as is some of the recommendations from our recent waste strategy, looking at diversion of material from landfill and our recycling rates. All of those things would come into this document and are part of those action plans, which we will report on an annual basis.
Great, thank you very much. Are there any other further questions from any of the committee members? Okay, I might take that as a no then. If that's the case, we've had the item has been moved by Councillor Catras and seconded by Councillor Jamieson. So, Anne-Marie, would you mind going around and asking for the committee votes, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor Catras, you've moved, so I'll take that as 4.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, can I have your vote, please, for the motion? Thank you. Councillor Borg.
For the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Jamieson.
For the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Marnie.
For, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Wang.
For the motion, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's 6 votes for, Madam Chair.
Great, thanks, Anne-Marie. So we can declare that particular item carried as well. That was our final item on the agenda for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming along and surviving your first Environment and Planning Committee. It was a very pleasant meeting. Nothing too contentious, and I think that it gave you a good overview of some of the work that's done in this directorate, which it's a lot of great work done in this particular directorate. It's complex, a lot of it. There's a lot of dense reading that comes with it, but tonight I think was a good way to ease you into some of the level of information that you're going to need to get your head around as a member of this committee. So thank you, Ms Bishop and council officers that are here tonight. Ms McMahon and Mr Spooner and everybody else. And if there is no further business on the agenda, I'll declare the meeting closed at 7:51 and thank everybody for your attendance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Everybody.
Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.